Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, she, he, and this is Literally Graphic. And today we are going with a random pick, namely Penguin Gentleman by Kishi Ueno, and translated by Julie Gonowicz, and lettered by Bianca Pastillo. This book was published in Japan in 2020 by Kadokawa Corporation and published in English by Yen Press in 2021. I was a little bit surprised that it was rated teen. Yen Press's page, presumably about their rating system, appears to be blank. But next to the teen T, there's also un-L and un-S. Can't say for sure what that means. Language and sex, perhaps? I hadn't noticed any, but what do I know? There's some discussion of penguin courting, but it's not graphic. So I don't know. Content notes for insinuating that European explorers actually discovered things. I couldn't find out much about the mangaka online. According to the back flap, they want to be a penguin in the afterlife. Keywords that came to mind: suits, food service, buff, chiseled jaws, and boys club. The Goodreads summary is, quote, "In a certain secret bar, the penguin gentlemen work. Wearing their long-tailed tuxedos, you say it's cute how penguins waddle around? Hmph. We're not just cute, we're dandy, sexy, and marvelous." As I said, a random pick, because the manga I was going to review next hadn't come in at the library yet, but promising. TLDR. As at least one person on Goodreads says, it's purely PWP, or penguin without plot. Lol. There are many great aspects to the story. I would even go so far as to say that each part of this book is pretty on point. The ultimate failure, and why I will be rating this book somewhat low, comes with a combination of all the parts. Being a book of penguin facts, where the penguins in question randomly switch back and forth between human form and penguin form, that supposedly work in a high-end restaurant that doesn't really count for anything because there is almost zero plot, it was just too unnecessarily confusing. Personally, I feel like even just nixing the penguins are also people for no apparent reason would have rendered it more fine, without detracting from anything else. But I gather that was part of what kicked off this entire publication journey. So no evolution. Just more! The art was okay. Gender, sexuality, and race were all pretty one note. The characters didn't all look exactly the same, but I did feel like there could have been more diversity since we are looking at different types of penguins. That said, having them all look the same did avoid racial caricatures, which could have been another option that would have been worse. And since we all know that gay penguins exist, and penguin courting rituals were an entire chapter, why we had to straightwash everything was a bit meh. Based off the premise, you would be correct in guessing that this book aims to focus on fancy things, although that part loses out the most with the lack of plot. I assume that working in fancy food service is about as miserable and underappreciated as most other food service positions in its own way. That is obviously not even hinted at. Imminent climate collapse and extinction is not touched on, let alone anything on the disability spectrum. So yeah, the difference between my expectations and the reality were not a unique experience, but I did end up going a bit harsher than many other reviewers I've seen. 2 out of 5 stars. I thought it was A-okay. Bye y'all, keep reading in organized and capitalist oppression. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.